Good morning. Good morning. As you guys know, when I look at 11 and 12, it's kind of like two parts of a whole, right? We started and we said here we have all these things we want to do in 11, and we also want to add some things as well in 12. You can't do them all in one and have flawless execution. So that's why you kind of see the two pieces come together. It's like two chapters of a book. And so I'm going to run the clock back a little bit just to give you an idea what we were thinking about when we got started. You know, we sat back at the whiteboards and we put our list together. The one thing that came up, number one, and always does with Wrangler is capability. We will never compromise the capability of the Wrangler. So that was top on the list, is do not do anything to mess this up. Second thing was on-road refinement. And when you look at the four-door, it is now escalated to 60% of our mix. So now you're drawing in all of those families that either one time had a Wrangler as a two-door and grew out of it. Now they're coming back, and what they're asking for is a little bit more on-road refinement, but on the weekends they don't want to give up that off-road capability. They do not want to compromise or sacrifice the ability for them to go off-roading and have fun with their families. And so that was the second thing on the list. And then the third thing was the customer I wants, which we get on every program as we're going through, as we get feedback through research, is here's what I want, here's what I want to see in the next Wrangler. So in 11, what we did is we tried to tackle those things with the new interior that Brian has talked about. It brings again refinement. And we also added some customer I wants. So there's power heated mirrors in the there's automatic temperature control. So there's things tied into the 11 interior that address the I wants and address the on-road refinement. NVH, we did a lot of work in 11 to get the noise levels down in the interior compartment. Also, since we knew the Pentastar was coming, and all you guys were hassling me last year about that, we made the sheet metal changes in the 11 body to accommodate the changes coming for 12. So we have to go back and tear that all up again. Again, flawless execution, right? We'll do it, we don't mess with it, and then we go through and then add to 12. So as we approached 12, then it became the Pentastar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of walk you through some of the major changes. Let's start with, first of all, the power plant is 285 horse, 260 foot-pounds of torque. That's 40% improvement in horsepower, 10% improvement in torque. But the real story behind that is looking at the match between that and the new 8580 transmission and the actual torque curve. And that's what you're going to feel today. When you guys go out on the road, you're going to feel that it's seamless, it's the driving, the refinement of the driving, the pedal to what I want the vehicle to do. It's going to respond and do that. There's no more shift dizziness. When you go up a grade, you won't see it hunting around for the next gear. That's where it really raises its head. The alternators mounted down low. On Wrangler, we know we got a 30-inch water line. We got to get it up out of the way. So, but the best part of the story is when we did this and one of the designers came up with, hey, I got a package that's turned around, everybody looked at it and goes, huh? But what we found out is by not just discounting that idea, we ended up looking at our bracket stiffnesses, and this is actually from a stiffness standpoint, a mobility standpoint, it's actually a better design than what we had on the other when this came about. So from an NVH standpoint and resonance standpoint, it really paid off by moving the alternator. Again, with Wrangler, the exhaust runs down one side of the vehicle because of the transfer case. For good, even performance and balance, we wanted to make sure we had equal lengths on both sides. So that's why you see the little trumpet, it makes up for the crossover length that we needed on the other side to get around the transfer case. So again, trying to make sure that we have a good flat torque curve. It's married nicely to the transmission gear ratios, which as we go into, we'll talk a little bit about in a little minute. NVH, if you notice here, there's a foam pad that runs underneath the manifold. While we're talking about NVH is that when we did the dash, we made sure that we closed up every hole that wasn't absolutely necessary on the dash pan so that we could, again, eliminate areas for transmission through to get the NVH down. What we've also done is, instead of having, last year, there was a combo cooler, which is half the front condenser and oil cooler was split. What we've gone to now is a full face condenser and a separate large auxiliary oil cooler. So not only are we going to get better performance from an AC standpoint, but we're also going to get better performance keeping the engine oil cool as well. Coupled with that condenser, we added a 600-watt pulse width modulated fan compared to the 400-watt 2-speed fan. So now that we've added more fan, which is considerably makes more noise, but only when it needs to. So that was the reason for going to the pulse width modulated fan. When you're under normal conditions, the fan runs at a much lower speed. As the conditions and the demands come up, the fan ramps up, and obviously at that point, when you're under the most demand, is when it makes the most noise. On the A580 transmission, it has a different gear ratio set. So the first gear, the automatic Rubicon, it'll give us more crawl ratio than what we had with the old transmission. We still offer a 410 as an optional in Rubicon still, but the base ratio, but the standard ratio is a 373. The base car has a 321 ratio in it, as opposed to the old 373. So when we look, you say, okay, what does all that mean? In the end, what it drives is fuel economy. On a two-door, on some flavors, a two-door automatic, you'll pick up 2 miles per gallon in the city and 2 miles per gallon on the highway. On the four-door, you'll pick up 1 in the city and 1 in the highway. So we've increased our fuel economy, we've increased our horsepower, we've increased our torque, we've reduced our 0 to 60 by right around 13 or 26%. On a two-door, our 0 to 60 is now 7.7. On a four-door is 8.4. The four-door is the largest gap, whereas that's 26% improvement over last year's vehicle. So, in summary, we've done all of the things to either increase or not affect capability, provide the customer with a more refined, quiet, better on-road drivability, and we also met a lot of the I wants and needs.
Thanks, Ray.